Welcome in the latest Rivals Down South. I'm your host, Michael Bratton, SEC Mike, here with former legendary Alabama quarterback A.J. McCarron, the man who's got more championships than I've got brain cells. A.J., how's it going, brother?
Oh, I'm good, Mike. Just busy for this game coming up. We got this weekend, and busy with this playbook. That's about it.
Yeah, well, while the rest of us schlubs are watching what you guys are out there playing on the field, we had one hell of an egg bowl there. I mean, it was 0-0 at the end of the first quarter, and Ole Miss, they finally got some momentum going, gets another egg bowl performance. Big win for Lane Kiffin's second 10-win season in just 3 seasons. That had never been done in the regular season before Lane Kiffin. He's going into what could be a record-setting season if they win their 11th game. Thoughts on that, AJ, right off the bat? Lane Kiffin, the job he's doing. I like to call him Lane Whiffin because he can't win the big game, but he sure is winning a lot of games down there in Oxford.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, I mean, it's 2 great back-to-back years for Lane and Ole Miss in general. The reason I say it's such a good job for him, he's not getting those big 5-star recruits and even a ton of 4-star recruits that Alabama and Georgia are getting, right? He's getting all the leftovers. And then on top of that, being in the West, he's still fighting LSU when it comes to recruiting. So, listen, I feel like Lane's done an unbelievable job there. This is the most Ole Miss has won in a long time. I'd probably say since, the one good year, maybe under Bo Wallace or Chad Kelly that they had. But it's been a while since they've seen back-to-back seasons like this.
Yeah, and speaking of Bo Wallace, he's still got some fight left in him. We'll get to that later in the show. But I wanted to ask you about the current Ole Miss quarterback, of course, Jackson Dart. About a week ago, Lane Kiffin came out and said, Jackson's coming back. And then we get closer to the Egg Bowl, and Jackson says, hold on, I haven't made a final decision. What's your thoughts on that? From what we've seen of Jackson Dart, he's tough as hell, very good player. I'm not sure he's quite ready for the NFL. What's your thoughts on Jackson Dart? Should he test those NFL waters, or do you think it'd be in his best interest to come back one more season?
No way in hell should Jackson Dart enter the NFL draft. You throw for 96 yards versus a Mississippi State team that's been bad all year long. When you have a weapon like Trey Harris, Junkins at running back, and I'm not basing it off of one game. Listen, I think Jackson's a great player. He's good in that system for sure, but from a throwing standpoint, no, he's not. In my eyes, he's not a NFL-ready quarterback.
Yeah, and on the other side then, clearly not another NFL-ready quarterback is Will Rogers. No disrespect. He's a record-setting quarterback, smashed many of the school records, and if he returns, he's going to smash many SEC records next season. But it has been reported he's going to enter the transfer portal, and that just kind of puts a cap on this awful season for Mississippi State. I mean, the most exciting thing about that Egg Bowl for the Bulldogs was I don't know if you caught this, but their interim coach rode in on an ATV onto the field to motivate the players. It didn't work, clearly, but, we're putting a cap on just an awful season. But Will Rogers into the transfer portal now, and, this is just such a weird place that we're in where, a guy's played for 4 seasons, but thanks to the COVID year, he can come back. Thanks to NIL, he could potentially make more money next season as a fifth-year college player than he ever will in the NFL. Thoughts on Will Rogers entering the transfer portal and just because I have a couple thoughts. Maybe Kentucky, maybe if they're desperate. I don't think Devin Leary will return, but beyond that, I don't know that Will Rogers has a home in the SEC next season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just listen. He had the one good year. I felt like where it was his breakout year. It was really like his first season of full starting from the beginning of the season. He's had some shoulder injuries, different injuries since he's been there. He's been banged up quite a bit. I'm glad that he stuck it out this year because I think after Coach Leach passing away, it would have been just a chaos for him to try to get somewhere. But I'm with you. I don't know if he can really go to an SEC school. Maybe Texas A&M might be another option, but I mean that all depends on what coaching staff comes in. But I can see him entering some schools, outside of the SEC for sure.
Yeah, and final thing I'll add on that. I mean, this, if nothing else, again, I don't want to sit here and bash the guy, but this is just the latest example of the greatness of Mike Leach and getting just incredible production out of these players. And clearly, without Leach around, Will Rogers took a significant step back this season in Starkville. I wanted to ask you about Billy Napier, because apparently you got the head Gator down there on the hot seat heading into a epic showdown here against Florida State. If they lose and if they get blown out by their rival at home, you think this could be Billy Napier's last game as Florida's head coach?
I do. Listen, I think this is one of those those coaching jobs that's you kind of get every year that pop up out of nowhere that's not being really talked about, maybe, kept between the top 3 boosters and the AD. I think if they lose this game, especially to a backup quarterback, I think if they lose this game big, I think he's gone. I think Florida kind of wants to put their name into that hat also of trying to find the next big coach, especially when you got A&M, who A&M's throwing out all this money, right? They're going to go try to get the biggest name guy that they feel right, that best fits them. I think you could see Florida getting rid of Coach Napier and adding their name to that hunt for the next head coach.
Yeah, well, I'm a Tennessee grad, so I'm all for Florida remaining in turmoil. I want to see Billy Napier back, but let's say you're right. Let's say Billy Napier's gone. I'm just curious, in your opinion, what would be a better, more attractive job opening, Texas A&M or Florida? Because certainly there's pluses and minuses of both, but we're talking 2 programs where I think you can legitimately win the SEC, legitimately win a national championship if you hire the right coach.
100%. I think Florida, in my opinion, the University of Florida, the name, the Gator mascot, everything about it holds more weight as it being in the state of Florida than Texas A&M does being in the state of Texas. I think with A&M being there, you got Texas, who's by far the best in the state. I mean, you could even argue that Oklahoma, right outside of the state, is going to be better in recruiting in the state of Texas than Texas A&M. So when I look at recruiting-wise, like Florida, if you can hold down Florida State kind of came on strong this year. Wasn't all that great last year. Miami struggled last year, has had some bad losses. They're slowly getting better, which I think they will be better with Coach Cristobal. But I just think the tradition of Florida carries a lot more weight than Texas A&M.
Yeah, it'll be like a race to Deion Sanders. Who can get Deion first, Florida or Texas A&M? I can't wait to see. But this all could be mute should Florida beat Florida State this weekend, which we'll get to our picks here in a moment. But I think there's good momentum for that. Again, Billy Napier, again, we're in a weird place in college football. We're 2 years, you're out the door. I kind of joked, if they lose this game, they started 5-2. You'd think for sure you're going to make a bowl game. But the way they've been playing down the stretch, going toe-to-toe with LSU and Missouri, if they can go toe-to-toe with an undefeated Florida State and still lose, I get it. That's not the standard by any measure. Florida, you're expected to win the SEC, expected to compete for national championships. But if they lose and they look good, I think I'm a little bit more optimistic on Napier than you. But when we come back, we got our picks for the upcoming weekend, including a couple games on Upset Alert here on Rivals Down South. goes down south. About to make our picks for the greatest week here in the college football calendar, and that's, of course, rivalry weekend. AJ's been whooping me and T-Bob soundly all season long, so I look for that to continue. Listen to AJ, fade my picks. I like to go a little wild on these, but let's start. Hey, we got a game here in just a couple hours here, AJ. Mizzou at Arkansas. Arkansas for the life. They cannot beat Missouri. They don't even consider it a rivalry, yet they can't even win the damn game. Who do you like here? Red hot Missouri Tigers. Sam Pittman clinging on to save his job. I mean, it's got to be Mizzou, right?
Yeah, 100%. Listen, I think Missouri's played well all year. Defense not so great, but offense putting up amazing numbers. I think Mizzou slings the ball all around the field on Arkansas. But I was happy to see Coach Pittman, getting another year, even though I think it's going to be the firing next year because I don't see his roster getting any better. But you never know. I think he's an awesome coach. Seems like a great coach, at least from the outside. But yeah, I think Mizzou big.
Well, I set you up for that one, AJ, because it's going to be Arkansas. So like I said, AJ's the smart one. I'm the wild card. I think bringing back Sam Pittman, I think that'll re-energize this team. I mean, they want to fight for this guy. They're happy that he's back. They got to show it on the field on Saturday. If they get destroyed at home in Fayetteville against Mizzou, maybe we second guess why we're bringing back Sam Pittman, and maybe they do a 180 and they fire him. So I respect everything Missouri's done. I think they're a heck of a team, but Luther Burden seems kind of banged up. I've always been a huge KJ Jefferson fan. Give me the upset here on Friday. I like Arkansas. Maybe by just a point or two. I'm not getting too overconfident here. Give me Arkansas over Mizzou. And then a game, of course, close to your heart, AJ, the Iron Bowl, Alabama at Auburn. Auburn, thanks to New Mexico State, some of the luster is lost off this game. But still, everybody's going to be watching it. Thoughts on Alabama at Auburn? Okay, good. Well, we lost AJ. I mean, that's how fired up he is after this New Mexico State loss. Not even a legend like AJ McCarron can get excited about the Iron Bowl. But I thought, for the life of me, I thought Hugh Freeze and company would make this a ball game. But if they can't compete against freaking New Mexico State, how in the world are they going to compete against the GOAT and Alabama? The only concern here for me, maybe Alabama looking ahead a little bit to that SEC championship. We got AJ back. AJ, who you like in the Iron Bowl?
Of course, it's going to be Bama. I think it's Bama big. Even though Jordan Hare is a tough place to play, I think it'll be a closer first half than what people think. But I think Bama will come out strong in the second half. I'm sorry, my computer was so disgusted with that Arkansas pick, it seemed to shut itself off. So.
Well, hey, I won't make it bad again. I'm picking Alabama too. Alabama big. Same thing here. I would imagine Vanderbilt, Tennessee. I mean, I'll go first on this one. I mean, what are we talking about here? Vanderbilt, top. They're not even top 100 in offense, defense, running, stopping the pass, any of that efficiency. It's Tennessee all the way. I think they can win by 50 points against Vanderbilt. What say you, AJ?
Yeah, I'm with you. Listen, I like Coach Heupel. I think he's an awesome coach, awesome offensive-minded coach as well. I got Tennessee big.
Yeah. All right. How about this one, AJ? This one could be the game of the weekend in the SEC. Florida State at Florida. Florida State undefeated, trying to make that college football playoff. They're going to have to go through the Florida Gators in the ACC championship game first. Battle of the backup quarterbacks. Who do you like in the swamp?
Yeah, even though I think, like I said earlier, this is a sneaky hot seat game for Billy Napier. I think it's something that's not being talked about, that's kind of, been swept under the rug a little bit. And if they lose, I think you could see him getting fired the next day or later after the season. But I'm going with Florida. I think Florida pulls off the upset. And I think Billy Napier keeps his job off of this win.
Well, that's why I say you're a smart man, AJ, because I'm right there with you. Upset special. I think the Florida Gators. Now, what has me concerned here is Florida's defense is just awful, and particularly the pass defense. Now, again, Florida State having a backup, that'll help, but who would you rather, break in a new quarterback in against Florida's awful defense or Florida State, which has a very good defense? So that has me concerned, but I think home field advantage Give me the Florida Gators to beat Florida State. All right, how about Kentucky at Louisville, AJ? Louisville, another team, very outside shot, but they're still in it for the college football playoff. They've already locked up a shot for the ACC championship. Kentucky, been a rough season. Who do you like in this rivalry showdown?
Yeah, ever since Coach Stoops' comments after the Georgia game, it seems like that team is just definitely, like we talked about. I think all three of us with T-Bob, on the show, is I don't think that sat well with his team. And I understand what he was saying. He was completely right, but some comments like that from a head coach just takes away the confidence sometimes. And so I got Louisville on this one.
Right. Stoops wants to buy better players. Well, Louisville went out and bought a better coach, Brian Brom there. I mean, he's elite. So I'm right there with you. I don't even think this is going to be I think it's a 2-score ball game. I think it's that heavy favored in Louisville's advantage. Kentucky, rough season continues. All right, I would imagine this is another quick one. Georgia at Georgia. We say at Georgia Tech, but really there's going to be more dogs in the stands than anything. You like Georgia big, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. This is going to be a beatdown.
Yeah, all right. I'm right there with you. How about Clemson at South Carolina? Night game here, Williams-Brice Stadium. The Gamecocks have to get it to reach the postseason. They beat Clemson last year. Can they do it again?
I like South Carolina. I love Coach Beamer. I think how much energy he brings to that program is just, you can see it throughout the support inside the stadium from the fans itself. I think that stadium is going to be rocking. Night game is going to be special too. I like South Carolina in this one.
I hope you're right, AJ, but I'm going Clemson in this one because South Carolina, Spencer Rattler, he has exceeded my expectations. I think Xavier Legette, he should be all SEC, if not all American. He's been standout receiver for the Gamecocks this year. But beyond that, I mean, it seems like it's a two-man team for South Carolina, and I just don't think that's going to work against a team like Clemson that is as hot as they are going into this one. Both these teams need this one badly. I'll be rooting for South Carolina, but I think Clemson wins. All right, how about the final one we got here, AJ? Texas A&M at LSU. Jaden Daniels trying to lock up that Heisman Trophy. Who you got in the ball game?
Yeah, I'm taking LSU big. Listen, even though LSU's defense is awful this year, A&M's offense has just been atrocious as well, and so I don't see A&M putting up a ton of points, even though going against a bad LSU defense. LSU's offense is so explosive, so LSU big.
Yeah, and credit Jalen Henderson, the Texas A&M third-string quarterback, AJ. He's come in, given life to this Texas A&M offense. He has been sensational against lesser competition, but LSU's defense kind of is lesser competition. Let's keep it real. But LSU is so committed to get Jaden Daniels at Heisman. I think they're going to let Texas A&M score a couple times. Get Jaden Daniels the ball as much as possible. Let's see if we can get 6, 7, 8 more touchdowns for what I consider to be the Heisman frontrunner, Jaden Daniels. I think this is a back-and-forth game. I think it's very competitive, but I do think LSU, just like you, I think they win at the end of the day to another not as good a season as we hope for in Baton Rouge, but a solid season for them LSU Tigers wrapping up the season. Now, any thoughts real quick on Ohio State, Michigan? I know that I usually don't care about Big Ten. I'll be honest with you, but that's such a big game. Do you have any thoughts on Harbaugh? I'm sure he's still cheating. They're going to find a way to cheat this one too. You think?
Listen, I'm with you. I don't watch a ton, but of Big Ten ball, but I like the big time matchups. I don't think Michigan's as good as everybody's thought. Like, they haven't played anybody all year. I thought to come out and make a statement, what their one chance during before this week was against Penn State, and they really didn't do that. Right? Like, Penn State hung around in the game, just had some mistakes that cost them. But I just think Ohio State, not losing 2 years in a row, I think that's going to be a part of it. I think Coach Ryan Day, I think he's going to have that offense schemed up really well, and they're going to put some points up on Michigan.
All right, the final segment coming up. I'm going to ask AJ about this Iron Bowl, not looking ahead to the SEC championship. And we got another former SEC quarterback ready to throw hands in the stands at the Egg Bowl. What a time to be alive here. All right, welcome back. Rivals Down South. If you missed it last night, busy watching the Egg Bowl. Bo Wallace got in a tiff here with a strange brew coffee out there in Starkville. I mean, he was ready to throw hands after this coffee house went after him, and they were not man enough to meet Bo Wallace. So, I think Bo Wallace won this exchange. But, AJ, the question to you is Iron Bowl's coming up here. If some Auburn coffee shop was calling you out on Twitter here, would you go to blows to defend your honor, to defend Alabama's honor?
Listen, not a chance in hell, Mike. Like, I'm sitting my butt there. They can tweet all they want. I can't lose my money I've worked hard for. That'd be a lawsuit because I'd want to choke somebody out. So I'd have to think about my kids.
Yeah, no, I got you. Well, so obviously Iron Bowl, huge game, biggest game in that state, arguably the biggest game in the country. First time for Jalen Milroe, first time for Peyton Thorne as starters. Just curious to pick your brain real quick. At what point does it hit you when it's your first Iron Bowl as a starter that, the magnitude of a matchup like this?
Yeah, I mean, my first start was at Jordan-Hare too. So, listen, it's going to be an awesome environment to play in. The biggest thing for these guys and Jalen Milroe is don't try to do too much. Don't try to play outside yourself. Don't let the hype of the crowd and the game itself, change you as a player. Go out, trust your technique, trust your preparation, trust, how you play, and then go out and just play the game you've always played. The hype is really for the fans itself.
I got you. Well, a guy like me, I wouldn't know because I'm sitting on my couch drinking a beer, eating this delicious Thanksgiving Day food. Just want to say thanks, everybody, for watching the show. Enjoy this incredible football that we got all weekend long. For AJ McCarron, I'm SEC Mike, Rivals Down South. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch you on the next one.